What went wrong to you today?
Go ask the coaching staff. Y'all ask that question, so y'all know the answer to that.
So do you remember a few days ago when I told you that the Ja Morant situation in Memphis was way worse than you think? Yeah. About that. It's gotten even worse, like exponentially worse. And I'm not talking about another bad shooting night or questionable body language. I'm talking about Ja Morant literally standing in front of reporters and saying he's lost his joy playing basketball. Where have we heard that before? Let this sink in for a second. Your franchise player, your max contract guy, the face of your organization, just told the world he doesn't have joy playing for your team anymore. And stick around, because what I'm about to show you about the fact that teams are already circling and where this is all headed is gonna make you realize we're watching a franchise cornerstone's final days in Memphis play out in real time. Now, if you watched my last video, you know I broke down how this Ja and coach situation has been brewing since last season, how the system that was supposed to unlock Ja is actually suffocating him. How those 9 games at the end of last year where Ja went off were just Lisalo temporarily abandoning his own system because they needed wins. But what's happened over the last week, it's taken this from a coaching disagreement to a full-blown crisis that has the entire NBA world talking. So real quick, before we get to the content, we're going to start doing jersey giveaways on this YouTube channel. It's something we've been running on my baseball channel, Uni Diamond Talk, and I figured I might as well do it for you guys that have been rocking with me for so long. So subscribe, turn on my notifications, and just let me know in the comment section down below what jersey you'd like, and I'm going to pick a giveaway winner at random each and every week. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. You guys have been flooding my DMs about our hit rate on Prize Picks. It's over 70% for this month. We've been absolutely dominating in both the NBA and the NFL. And I'm going to give you guys my pick of the week in just a sec. First, to sign up for Prize Picks, make sure you use my promo code microphone so you can get $50 in lineups when you make a play of $5 or more. And then tail this pick. I have Devontae Adams and Tyler Warren each recording a touchdown, and I have JJ McCarthy getting under 214.5 pass yards. I think the line's going to move on JJ McCarthy. This guy's been averaging like 150 pass yards a game. I don't care if he's going up against Baltimore. I expect him to have another game where he's getting the under in pass yardage. Now, if you guys want additional daily plays, I partnered up with a genius at making picks in a Discord server. The link to the Discord server is the WAP link in the description down below. It's the second link from the top. And thank you, Prize Picks, for sponsoring today's video. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? So let's catch everyone up real quick, just in case you missed my last video on this topic. After that Lakers game on Halloween where Ja went 3 for 14 and basically checked out in the second half, he had a post-game interview where he kept telling reporters this.
What went wrong to you today?
Go ask the coaching staff.
It didn't look like you had your usual energy tonight.
Go ask the coaching staff what?
You feel like you should play more?
Go ask the coaching staff. Should I play more or not?
This is his reaction to reporters asking him what went wrong. Then in the locker room after the game, Coach Lisalo called out Ja's leadership and effort in front of the entire team. And according to Shams Charania, Ja responded in what the team deemed an inappropriate and dismissive way. The Grizzlies would suspend him for 1 game for conduct detrimental to the team. He sat out their loss to Toronto on Sunday, and everyone thought, okay, they'll have a meeting, clear the air, and move forward. Teams do this kind of stuff all the time, right? No, that's not what happened at all whatsoever. I mean, when Ja came back Monday night against the Pistons, it became painfully obvious that nothing was resolved. Actually, it's worse than that. It became clear that this thing is beyond repair. Ja scored 18 points on 5 of 16 shooting in the loss to Detroit. He played a season-high 35 minutes. The Grizzlies lost their 3rd straight game and fell to 3-5 on the season, but none of that is what made headlines. After the game, reporters asked Ja if things have been resolved with the coaching staff. His response?
Were you and the coaching staff able to talk about what happened Friday and move on?
Y'all ask that question to them, huh?
What about for you?
Y'all ask that question, so y'all know the answer to that.
Do you feel like everything's been resolved?
Yeah. They told y'all that, right?
Well, yeah, but
There
we
you
didn't
go.
hear it from you.
Obviously, they can't go and tell y'all something I ain't say.
That's passive-aggressive code for no, we didn't work anything out, but they're trying to tell you that we did. Then came the question that's now echoing across the entire NBA. A reporter asked Ja if he still has the same joy he used to have playing basketball. His answer?
Feel like you
get the same joy right now that we used to see from you?
No.
Why not?
What can be done to get it back?
We'll see.
Now, if you're an NBA fan with any memory at all, that phrase should sound very familiar because it's almost word for word what Jimmy Butler said before he forced his way out of Miami to Golden State.
To see me get my joy back from playing basketball. And wherever that may be, we'll find out here pretty soon. But I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here off the court, but I want to be back to somewhat dominant. I want to hoop, and I want to help this team win. Right now, I'm not doing that.
Can you get your joy back here on the court?
Probably not.
Jimmy Butler is probably watching Ja Morant run the same exact play here and saying,
He copied my whole flow! Word for word, bar for bar!
2 weeks later, Jimmy Butler was on the Warriors. That's the Jimmy Butler playbook, and Ja Morant is running it step by step. But it wasn't just the joy comment. The entire press conference was dripping with passive aggression. When asked if he regretted how he played against the Lakers, Ja responded, "Is that your home run question?" Sounded like a bait question. You know, it's kind of funny. The previous question about his joy was a bait question, and he completely missed it. This is a guy who's clearly not okay with this situation and isn't even trying to hide it anymore. Before the Pistons game, Coach Lisalo told reporters that we had a discussion and we're all looking to move forward and called the whole thing an internal matter. But Ja's making it very clear to anyone paying attention that nothing has actually been resolved. And here's the thing that should terrify Grizzlies fans. Ja's not just unhappy, he's playing worse than he's ever had in his entire career. Through 8 games, Ja Morant is averaging 20 points per game, 3.8 rebounds per game, 7 assists per game, shooting 38% from the field, 14% from 3, has a player efficiency rating of a 15.1, and is contributing 0 wins to the team. Let me say that again. The guy is shooting 14% from 3. For context, in his rookie year, he shot 33.5% from 3. This 14% mark is uncharted territory. His minutes are also at a career low. He's playing just 30 minutes per game, the lowest since his rookie season. For his career, Ja averaged 31.9 minutes per game. That number would have tied him for minutes per game last season. Meanwhile, 20 NBA players averaged over 35 minutes per game last year. Stars like Devin Booker, Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, and Anthony Edwards. And here's Ja, a max contract player, playing fewer minutes than Jaden McDaniels. And this is with the Grizzlies missing 4 rotation players due to injury. Zach Edey, Brandon Clark, Ty Jerome, and Scottie Pippen Jr. are all out. You'd think Ja would be playing 40 minutes a night trying to carry this team, but instead he's playing 30. Why? Because Lisalo's European coaching philosophy involves heavy rotation and shorter, more intense stints. When Lisalo coached the Paris Basketball Club in 2023-24, he played 11 players at least 10 minutes per game, with 9 of them playing between 17 and 26 minutes in 40-minute games. That's his system, that's his philosophy, and it's completely at odds with how NBA superstars are used. And if you needed any more evidence that Ja is completely checked out, just watch the games. There was a telling stillness on the Memphis Grizzlies bench against Houston. Not the quiet of focus, but of disconnect. Shoulders slumped, eyes distant, increasingly isolated from coaches and teammates. The tension inside of FedEx Forum was unmistakable. Go back and watch that Lakers game. There was a timeout where Ja is literally standing away from the huddle, not engaged, not listening, just existing in his own bubble while his teammates and coaches try to figure out how to win the game. That's not frustration with one bad performance, that's someone who's done. And remember what I said in my last video about how this all connects to Lisalo being the assistant coach last year when Ja's numbers first started dropping? Lisalo is known to be incredibly demanding, a coach who doesn't tolerate anything that gets in the way of winning. He came from European basketball where he had complete control and players bought in 100% because that's the culture here. But Ja Morant is a 25-year-old American superstar who plays with emotion and passion and an edge. When you combine Ja's personality with a rigid European system that limits his minutes and restricts his freedom, this is what happens. This exact scenario. And here's where it gets really interesting, because while the Grizzlies are publicly saying everything's fine and they're moving forward, teams around the league are already monitoring this situation. According to multiple reports, the Minnesota Timberwolves are one team that are keeping tabs on Ja's situation. The Sacramento Kings are another, and get this, the Houston Rockets, who just lost Fred VanVleet to a season-ending ACL injury, who just defeated the Memphis Grizzlies, desperately need a point guard. Now, none of these teams have made official offers or anything like that, but the fact that there are already reports reports about specific teams monitoring the situation, that tells you everything. The NBA is a small community, front offices talk, agents talk, and word is clearly getting around that Ja might be available. The question is, what is his trade value right now? Because this is where it gets complicated for Memphis. On paper, Ja's a two-time All-Star who's one of the most explosive athletes in the league. When he's engaged and healthy, he's box office, he's must-see TV. But when you look at the other side of the ledger, he's been suspended multiple times, 8 games for the first gun incident, 25 games for the second gun incident, and now 1 game by his own team for conduct detrimental to the organization. He hasn't played in more than 50 games in a season since the 2022-23 season due to injuries. He's shooting 38% from the field and 14% from 3 this year, and he just publicly said he lost his joy playing for his current team. Ja is owed over $125 million through the 2027-28 season. Any team trading for him would have to match that salary and probably give up significant assets. In this new CBA where second apron penalties are brutal, you have to be absolutely certain that the juice is worth the squeeze. But there's one destination that keeps coming up in every conversation about Ja, and that's Miami. Bleacher Report's Eric Pincus recently wrote about a potential Morant to Miami move, suggesting that the Heat could send Tyler Hero to Memphis for Ja. And honestly, it makes too much sense. Think about it. Kendrick Perkins went on a podcast and said,
Do think it's only one option for Ja Morant, that one direction he needs to go. He needs that air exposure Pat Riley Miami Heat coach.
The Heat have been looking for a star guard for years. They just sent Jimmy Butler to the Warriors, so they need that alpha creator. Miami's culture of accountability and structure might be exactly what Ja needs. And Eric Spoelstra, he's a master at maximizing guard talent and getting the most out of his players who come from difficult situations. At the same time, the system fits Ja perfectly. Miami leads the NBA in pace, which means Ja would get the volume he'd want. Imagine him running pick and rolls with Bam Adebayo. Imagine a backcourt of Norman Powell and Ja Morant. Spo deploying Morant in structured sets that create lanes for drives and lobs while curbing his turnover tendencies. The Heat's pace and space system with Ja's athleticism, that could be special. Hero's on an all-star level contract. He made his first all-star team last year, but there's always been questions about whether Miami is fully committed to him in the long term. For Memphis, they'd be getting a 25-year-old scorer who can shoot 40% from 3 and doesn't come with the off-court baggage. It's not a superstar for superstar swap, but it might be the most realistic return they can get. So what are the Grizzlies' actual options here? Because they're in a really tough spot. Option 1 is they fire Lisalo, but think about how that looks. You fire Taylor Jenkins, your winningest coach in franchise history, with 9 games left in the season, specifically to promote Lisalo. You gave him the full-time job 4 months ago. If you fire him now after less than 10 games into the season, you're basically admitting that you made a massive mistake and your front office has no idea what they're doing. Plus, other players like Ty Jerome specifically came to Memphis to play in Lisalo's system. Option 2 is you try to trade Ja, but as we just discussed, his value is probably at an all-time low right now. He's making almost $40 million this season, with 3 years left on his deal through 2028. You're not getting equal value back. You're just not. Maybe you get a package centered around someone like Hero, but you're not getting another young superstar in return. Option 3 is you just try to ride it out and hope that John Lisalo can somehow find common ground. Hope that winning fixes everything. But here's the problem with that. Memphis is 3-6 right now. They've lost 4 of their last 5. They're clearly not a playoff team in their current state, and every loss, every passive-aggressive post-game interview, every game where Ja looks disengaged, it just makes the situation worse. The Grizzlies play the Mavericks next, then the defending champion OKC Thunder. If they lose all of these games, if Ja continues to look checked out, the pressure on Memphis to do something is going to become unbearable. The sad thing about this is this was all avoidable. When Ja was playing under Jenkins' system before Lisalo came on as an assistant, he was an all-NBA player, averaging 27.4 points in the 2021-2022 season. He won Most Improved Player. The Grizzlies were winning. Everything was working. Then injuries hit. Then the gun incidents and suspensions. And somewhere in there, Memphis decided they needed to change their offensive philosophy. They brought in Lisalo from Europe thinking his system would unlock another level. Instead, it's breaking the relationship between their franchise franchise player in the organization. And here's what's really frustrating. We've seen proof that Ja can thrive when he's the primary ball handler in a pick and roll heavy system. That's what happened at the end of last season when Lisalo temporarily let him loose. Ja went from 22.3 points per game to 28.4 points per game. His usage rate jumped from 30.7% to 34.6%. He looked like a superstar again. But now that Lisalo has the job full time and the ability to install his complete vision, he's going back to the structured European system that restricts Ja's minutes and freedom, the system that caused all these problems in the first place. Look, I need to be real with you guys about something. A lot of Grizzlies fans are going to watch this video and think I'm being too negative. They're going to say it's only been 9 games, or they'll work it out, or Ja's been frustrated, he'll get over it. But I've praised you guys already in the past, especially in my Desmond Bane video. So I'm not just looking for reasons to be negative, I'm just looking at what NBA history tells us. When a star player publicly says they've lost joy playing for their team, and when that player is giving passive-aggressive answers about whether things are resolved, it almost never ends with everyone making up and riding off into the sunset together. You know who else had issues with their coach and showed poor body language? James Harden in Houston before he forced his way to Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving in Cleveland before he demanded a trade. Jimmy Butler in Minnesota, then Philadelphia, then Miami. Wow, okay, Jimmy does this a lot. And every single time, the conventional wisdom was they'll work it out. It's too early to give up on this. And every single time, the star ended up leaving. The difference between those situations and this one, all of those guys were putting up numbers while being unhappy. Harden was still dropping 30 a night. Kyrie was still efficient. And Butler was still all NBA caliber. Ja's shooting 38% from the field and 14% from 3, while openly telling reporters he has no joy for the game anymore. That is so much worse. Now, you also have to understand where the Memphis Grizzlies currently are. They've ran a lot of games where they've played through Jaren Jackson Jr., and they just traded Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic for 4 future first-round picks. That's not a team that is currently trying to contend. That's a team that's trying to reload. Now, Ja could easily be there for the reload, but at the same time, if they get a good offer around a player with way less baggage to build around, the Memphis Grizzlies are not going to pass that up. So who's most likely to trade for Ja Morant? Well, the Rockets have Fred VanVleet's $25 million contract that's now useless since he tore his ACL, so they could build a package around Jabari Smith Jr. or Reed Shepherd, but why would the Grizzlies do that? They'd be taking back unproven youth. What about Minnesota? They've got Julius Randle's salary available, plus Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid if they want to get serious. Pairing Ja with Anthony Edwards would be box office, but is Minnesota willing to gut their depth to take a chance on someone who's been publicly unhappy and shooting 14% from 3? Sacramento's been mentioned. They have Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Domantas Sabonis. But why would the Memphis Grizzlies want an aging forward or a high-volume scorer or Domantas Sabonis if they are clearly trending towards a rebuild? The reality is that Memphis doesn't have great options. They're going to have to take less than equal value if they trade Ja, or they're going to have to fire their coach and hope that fixes anything, or they're going to have to ride this out and pray that winning solves all the problems. You know what this situation is kind of reminding me of, aside from the Jimmy Butler situation? Ben Simmons in Philadelphia. Stay with me here. Obviously, the on-court stuff is different. Ben refused to shoot. Ja's shooting, but he's just missing everything. But the vibe is the same. You've got a young star who's mentally checked out from his organization. You've got awkward press conferences where it's clear nothing's actually been resolved. You got a team trying to publicly act like everything's fine while privately knowing that it's not. And you've got the player's trade value tanking in real time because everyone can see how bad the situation is. The Sixers eventually had to trade Ben Simmons for James Harden, who would want out a year later. The whole thing was a disaster that set their franchise back for years. Is that where Memphis is headed? Are we watching the Grizzlies do the same thing that Philly did? Just hold on for too long, let the situation get worse and worse until they have no choice but to move Ja for 50 cents on the dollar? So the Ja Morant situation in Memphis, it's not just worse than you think. It might be too far gone to fix. And the scariest part, we're only 10 games into the season. If this is where things are after 10 games, where are we going to be after 20, after 40? Memphis better figure this out fast, because every day this drags on, Ja's trade value drops. Every passive-aggressive press conference makes other teams more hesitant. Every loss makes it harder to convince everyone that things are fine. The clock is ticking, and based on everything we've seen, it feels like it's not a matter of if Ja Morant leaves Memphis, but when. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.